Welcome to Cambridge House Live. I'm Bridget Anderson, and Bill Murphy, the chairman of the Gold Antitrust Action Committee, joins me now. It's nice to see you again, Bill.
Good to see you, Bridget.
Let's start off with the big drops in gold that we saw in April. What do you think it's going to take for investors and for the public and even for the media to start paying attention to what you have been saying for some time?
I don't know if that didn't do it. Something like a $230 drop in 36 hours. I mean, I think if a nuclear bomb went off, it still wouldn't get people to understand, how manipulated the gold and silver markets are. I mean, I was here last January and told the conference, this is what you could watch for. 6, 7, 8 things, and since then, every single day, not one exception, I don't believe it, unless I missed it, one of those things occurred that people could see there was some sort of manipulation of the gold and silver markets.
Well, let's talk specifically about what happened in April. What do you think was behind that?
Well, it was set up since early October when gold was $17.93, silver was 35 plus, and the intensity of the daily attacks led up to this April 12th and April 15th bombing. It inched up, and they waited, and then they got different banks, more than usual, behind them, and then they just attacked the markets, like with 50,000 contracts at a time. I don't know whatever happened to position limit rules, but it just completely terrorized the market. I call it a financial market terrorist attack. And it just completely demoralized the price and the industry.
And what do you think is in store then over the near future?
Well, it's really hard to say now because the sentiment is the worst I've ever seen it. People are quitting left and right. There's massive short positions. At the same time, everything I monitor, there's no change in these price patterns. And until we see a change in these price patterns and what they do, all we can do is wait and monitor what's going on. I mean, silver is like 10, 20 cents for making a contract low close.
So volatility will continue, but do you think we're going to see some drops as big as we did in gold, particularly that we did in April?
No, I mean, that's over with, but
okay.
But that doesn't mean they can't press. And again, if you look at the silver market, it's just going like sideways like this, and it's getting ready for something big. I don't know how you can predict it anymore because the terrorist attack or the $200+ drop, it came out of nowhere. So how can you analyze it like you would any other market?
So when you look at that and you call it a terrorist attack, how do you then try to get some evidence to back up what you're saying?
Well, first of all, as I said, no market ever trades like this. And of course, we go to the CFTC, who's supposed to be monitoring this thing. It's to be the easiest thing in the world for them to get time in sales and say, this doesn't seem right. There's supposedly position limits. What's the matter with these people? We presented stuff to the CFTC for 4 years of what's going on. There have been whistleblowers explaining to them what's going on. They won't pay any attention to it, partly because the U.S. government's behind it. So it's like, the fox is guarding the chicken coop or whatever.
And there are people who are saying, well, we're still waiting for some concrete proof. How do you answer those kind of skeptics?
Well, as my colleague Chris Powell may have mentioned, we've come up with nothing but proof or evidence of the way this is done, who's doing it, how and why for 14 years. It's like a murder trial, though, to go into each particular thing to show someone is guilty. All you have to do is look at all the evidence. Like people can go to the GATA website. It's all laid out. Chris lays it out every few months. And all people would have to do is go to these brilliant banks, or really the central banks, or the Fed or other governments, the Bank for International Settlements, and ask them these questions. But they refuse to do it. So we've given the evidence.
Given then the information that your organization has put out and given the drops that we've seen in gold, do you think people will ever come around to seeing your view?
Well, you have to wonder. It's sort of strange because people will talk about how the bond market's manipulated. There's people who will go into other things that the Fed is doing and that markets are managed. When it comes to gold market, the story is so toxic, so big, people are afraid to go there. Even legendary figures like Jim Grant. I mean, he'll talk about manipulating markets, but talk about gold or talk about GATA, he runs the other way. And it really is that big a story, and I think eventually it's going to be the biggest financial scandal in history.
And so if people did come around to seeing your view and agreeing that there was manipulation in the market, what would it do? What would need to be done to change that?
Well, first of all, it's interesting. You talk about keeping up with inflation. I think a lot of people would say, even outside of our world, that if gold had kept up with inflation, it would be $2,500 or $2,600. And now it's $1,300 and change. So we're talking about 50% of where it should be. The advantage of listening to GATA, why it helps, because the prices are artificially low. If you using that inflation example, so it lets people get more comfort in buying gold and buying silver down here because we know where it's going.
So what do you think is the true price of gold then? And how do we know what the true price is?
Well, again, if it kept pace with inflation, it'd be $2,500 or $2,600. When we had our conference in Dawson City, August 2005, gold was $436. Back then, I said it would take $3,000 to $5,000 to clear the market. I think that's where it's going to go. I think silver is going to go bananas. I know Eric Sprott.
You think both silver and gold are going
Yes.
to, in the near future, or is this long term?
No, I think in the next year or two, you'll see silver over $100. And I know Eric Sprott thinks that way, and he's one of the smartest guys I've ever met. And right now, it's like a slingshot. It's going down like this. And when this war campaign ends, you're going to see it go the other way pretty quickly.
So how do you keep going then in the face where people say, GATA, they don't know what they're talking about? And I'm putting that mildly. And Bill Murphy, he's crazy. He doesn't know. What keeps you going?
First of all, I am crazy. but we have come up with all this evidence. We do have some great supporters. We know what's going on and why. It's great going through life getting it versus thinking the earth was flat. I mean, how many people thought the earth was flat? Mm-hmm. Now, they probably enjoyed their lives as much as the ones that thought it was round, but we understand what's going on. And also, it keeps us in the market because we know what has to happen. And even now, you have many other speakers probably will say, people on the show will talk about the demand all over the world. The physical market will take the bad guys out. And that's what people can have comfort in.
So what is the future of GATA?
Well, we're fighting the good fight. We come to conferences like this to spread the word. We try to get on TV, but of course BNN won't touch us. I was on CNBC 13 years ago. Once they heard what I had to say, they won't touch us. So it's great to have you give us a chance to reach a few people.
Well, and I was talking to Chris earlier, Chris Powell, and so talking about the future of GATA, that it's going to take some sort of financial support to keep things moving, to try and get this, to get the word out, to try and find more evidence, and eventually to try and take some legal action. So what is the financial situation of GATA?
Well, we count on contributions to spread the word and do what we do, and eventually we hope when the timing is right, we can get more money to really go, take on the gold cartel, as we call it.
But you see a future for GATA right now?
Oh yeah, we're not going away. And we're actually gaining support among certain people that are opening up their eyes to what's going on. And we're here to help, first of all, to right a wrong, and also be a part of the industry and do something. And if they would support us more, it could make a difference.
Bill, thanks very much for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Bridget.